Well, this is live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour. G20 summit in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro enters its second day today. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the session titled Sustainable Development and Energy Transition. In other news, US Envoy in Beirut says end to war between Israel and Hezbollah is within our grasp. As Russia-Ukraine conflict marks its 1,000th day, Ukraine attacks border region with US-made long-range missiles, claims Russia. We begin with G20 summit updates underway in Brazil, where the summit has entered its second day today, and the leaders of the grouping will meet to discuss the crucial issues. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also attending the summit in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro, will be addressing the session on sustainable development and energy transition. That's what we're going to keep our focus and eye on. And also pertinent to recall that earlier on first day of the G20 on Monday, the Prime Minister of India took part in the session titled Fight Against Hunger and Poverty. Prime Minister Modi also met several leaders on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brazil. The priority points across all the bilaterals were actually to review the cooperation in various areas of mutual interest. The Prime Minister also participated in a session titled Fight Against Hunger and Poverty on day one. DD India correspondent Gautam Roy, who is in Rio de Janeiro, tells us more about what's in store for Prime Minister Modi and other leaders. Let's listen in.
Well, on day two as well, a lot of activity planned really in terms of Prime Minister Modi as far as his engagements are concerned. More bilateral engagements on the anvil. They've not been confirmed yet, but there could be as many as 4 or 5. Apart from that, the IPSA could have a meeting as well. That's India, Brazil and South Africa, a grouping that has been the troika as well as far as the G20 summit is concerned. Apart from that, there's a session on energy transition and sustainable development as well, which Prime Minister Modi will be participating in along with the other leaders. So there's more to come as far as this G20 summit is concerned, because that is one area, energy transition, which is crucial to how the world responds to climate change. Sustainable development is again an issue where a lot of funds need to be mobilized, keeping in mind that development is taken on a track where it gels well with the environment as well. So a lot of funding in that arena too, apart from responding to the kind of disasters that are taking place because of climate change. That is another track that could further be elaborated.
G20 leaders attending the summit in Brazil released G20 Rio de Janeiro leaders' declaration earlier on Monday, which outlined their concerns over major global challenges and crises, including social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty. At the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his opening remarks, spoke about India's efforts to alleviate hunger and poverty.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the G20 session on social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The Prime Minister spoke on a number of issues, including India's efforts to alleviate hunger and poverty, amplifying the concerns of the Global South, push for sustainable development goals. The Prime Minister said that the people-centric decisions taken at the G20 summit in New Delhi have been taken forward during Brazil's presidency. The Prime Minister expressed satisfaction over prioritizing SDG goals. The Prime Minister said that India focused on inclusive development, women-led development, and youth power and gave wings to the hopes and aspirations of the global South. The Prime Minister noted that it is clear that one Earth, one family, one future is as relevant at this summit as it was last year. The Prime Minister also shared India's experiences and success stories. He said that over the last 10 years, India lifted 250 million people out of poverty, while over 800 million people are being given food grains free of cost. 550 million people are benefiting from the world's biggest health insurance scheme. Now, 60 million senior citizens over the age of 70 will also be able to benefit from free health insurance. Maintaining a focus on women-led development and social inclusion, over 300 million women micro-entrepreneurs have been linked to banks and given access to credit. Under the world's largest crop insurance scheme, over 40 million farmers have received benefits worth $20 billion US. Under the farmer scheme, assistance worth over $40 billion has been given to 110 million farmers. Institutional credit worth $300 billion US is being given to farmers. India is not only ensuring food security but also focusing on nutrition. The Saksham Anganwadi and Nutrition 2.0 campaign, which is an integrated nutrition support program, focuses in particular on nutrition for pregnant women, newborn babies, children under the age of 6, and adolescent girls. Through the midday meal scheme, special attention is also being paid to the nutritional needs of school-going children. The Prime Minister said that India is also contributing to global food security. India provided humanitarian assistance to Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe recently. The Prime Minister noted that the main reason for our success is our approach: back to basics and march to the future. PM Modi remarked that we have focused not only on natural farming and organic farming, but also on new technologies. Besides, India also focused on sustainable agriculture, protection of the environment, nutrition, and food security by promoting Shri Ann or millets. India developed more than 2,000 climate-resilient crop varieties and has started the Digital Agriculture Mission. India's digital public infrastructure enables social and financial inclusion. Besides, India created a new model for inclusive development that strengthens the weakest link with the aspirational districts and blocks project. The Prime Minister also said that India supports Brazil's initiative for a global alliance against hunger and poverty. This is an important step towards the implementation of the Deccan High-Level Principles for Food Security adopted at the New Delhi summit. The Prime Minister also highlighted the concerns of the Global South, saying that the countries of the Global South are most adversely impacted by the food, fuel, and fertilizer crises caused by global conflicts. He said that discussions can only be successful when we keep in mind the challenges and priorities of the Global South. And just as we amplify the voice of the Global South by granting permanent membership of G20 to the African Union during the New Delhi summit, we will reform institutions of global governance. With input from Gautam Roy in Brazil, Fuzail Ahmed reporting for DD India.
And G20 leaders attending summit in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro released the G20 Rio de Janeiro Leaders Declaration, which outlined their concerns over major global challenges and crises. Besides, leaders also talked about steps for social inclusion and fight against hunger and poverty. As per the leaders' declaration, let's take a look at some of these key areas pointed out there. The leaders underscored the G20 commitment to the importance of food security and nutrition and of the progressive realization of the right to adequate food, as reaffirmed through the Deccan High-Level Principle. The G20 group also launched the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Leaders called for speedy implementation of the G23 Action Plan on accelerating progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. The leaders also expressed deep concern about humanitarian situation emerging in the Gaza Strip and the escalation of crises in Lebanon. While talking about war in Ukraine, the leaders highlighted human suffering and negative added impacts of the war with regard to global food and energy security, supply chains, macro-financial stability, inflation and growth. The leaders condemned terrorism in all its reforms and manifestations. Leaders also recommitted to advancing the goal of the world free of nuclear weapons and a safer place for all, and will uphold obligations in this regard. Those are the high points of the G20 Rio de Janeiro's Leaders' Declaration released on day 1. Meanwhile, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on the sidelines of the G20 summit. While opening the bilateral meeting on day 1, Brazilian President told Prime Minister Modi that they have incorporated several things in their G20 which were inspired from India's presidency last year. He added that Brazil wanted to reach the level of efficiency in organizing the summit that India had shown last year in September 2023. Leaders also took stock of the full range of bilateral ties between the two nations and reaffirmed their commitment to improve cooperation in sectors like energy, biofuels, defense, agriculture and more. Let's quickly go live across to DD India's Gautam Roy, joining us from Rio de Janeiro for more. Gautam, good morning to you. A busy day too lined up for you today. To begin with, overview of what is expected today, particularly as we wait for Prime Minister Modi's address at the session titled on Sustainable Development and Energy Transition.
Well, yes, as I understand it, Sakal, Prime Minister Modi's address might be happening right now. We're at the media center, where just a short while ago, the speech of President Lula da Silva in that critical session on sustainable development and energy transition was broadcast. Only the leader speech was broadcast by the G20 host. That is the normal practice, and Prime Minister Modi must be on right now, or might have already finished. We will get a text a little later of what Prime Minister Modi had to say. And it has had very well-established positions as far as energy transition is concerned. But let me just tell you what President Lula said in some bullet points. He said in his speech that they should engage, the G20 leaders should engage to raise their national climate targets. That is something that he's urged, and he's made all kinds of statements in terms of saying how the G20 or the Western leaders have not so far met their commitment of $100 billion for developing nations as far as climate finance is concerned, and now the need is to raise it from billions to trillions. And he's urged that all the countries should really raise their targets where they have said that they will go net zero as well. So urging the nations to take swifter action, because he said that COP30 next year will perhaps be the last opportunity when one can really work to target the fact that we want to stay within 1.5 degrees Celsius of temperature rise of the pre-industrial level. So he's urged that there should be urgent action now. Targets should be raised. The time limit that has been set should be reduced. But we know how challenging this task is. We've seen how raising finance, the issue of climate justice, and there's a constant tussle on between developed and developing nations, where developed nations are saying that they cannot meet this target of funding climate action and climate finance alone, and the faster developing countries should also contribute to this process. So that's a process, that's a tussle that is right now going on in Baku in Azerbaijan, where the COP29 is on, and there is a direction that has been given from here in Rio as well.
Also, if for the benefit of our viewers, if you could also quickly go through the high points of Prime Minister Modi's intervention yesterday, where India has stated its position on various international concerns, particularly on the contributions when it comes to world food security and the templates of social inclusion that have been scripted by India.
Yes, certainly. That was during the session against hunger, the one that is about targeting hunger and poverty. That's what a global alliance has also been launched. That happened yesterday in Brazil. It was something that 82 nations have joined, apart from a lot of international organizations, the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. And the session is also related to that and social inclusion. And Prime Minister Modi was very clear that there are ways to do this. India has demonstrated how it's been done over the course of the last, well, since 2014 really, because during that period, 9 years specifically, 250 million people in India have been brought out of poverty. 550 million people have been helped in many other various ways. There are 810 million people who've been given free food grain, and that scheme is still on ever since COVID hit. And he talked about how women have been helped, how farmers have been helped, how children have been helped with their nutritional needs as well. Various schemes that India has launched, which has helped alleviate poverty in the country, but the work is still not finished. Poverty is still there in large parts of the world, not just India alone. If you put it all together, 773 million people, that's the UN body FAO's figure, are still suffering from hunger and poverty in all corners of the world. So this is something that has to be tackled at a scale where perhaps action needs to be taken in addressing geopolitical conflicts as well, because they're one of the root causes of this particular problem. Prime Minister Modi mentioned that, how these conflicts have led to a crisis of food, fertilizers and other issues, and he said these need to be looked at and solved quickly as well.
Okay, overview of what makes India's presence at G20 very, very special. We heard President Lula da Silva also, talking about the kind of efficiency that India displayed when we were the host of G20 last year, so on and so forth. You've been interacting with the journalists from across the globe there, and you've been listening to the other leaders as well, and also the kind of bonhomie that we get to see in these bilaterals and otherwise also between other world leaders and Prime Minister of India.
Well, yes, certainly, Sakal, we have seen that happening, and India's work that was done last year was much appreciated at that time and is still finding appreciation, not just President Lula, but even if you look at the leaders' declaration, India's what it had accomplished last year and what has been carried forward as well was mentioned in the leaders' Rio declaration more than a dozen times. On different pointers, really, because it was an 85 paragraph long statement that emerged. Okay. The leaders' declaration in Rio, and a lot of what Brazil has been doing has been a carry forward of what India set out to do, and we have a lot of commonality in our viewpoint with Brazil, so it was natural that that would happen, because the kind of issues that the world faces along with Brazil and India are quite common, and all that has been taken forward in an incremental manner.
We'll leave it there, Gautam. Many thanks as of now for joining us. We, of course, will come back to you later in our special shows and subsequent bulletins. Thank you as of now. Staying with G20, on the sidelines of the summit in Rio, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. The leaders noted the progress in the recent disengagement in India-China border areas. In a post on social media X, Minister Jaishankar said that both sides also exchanged views on the next steps in the bilateral ties. They also discussed the global situation. From G20, shifting focus to COP29, where India's Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Kirti Vardhan Singh, is in Baku for COP29 summit. Taking to platform X, the minister said that he was looking forward to presenting India's views on collaborative solutions to combat climate change while respecting the principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. On the sidelines of the COP29 summit, Kirti Vardhan Singh of India delivered a key address at the International Solar Alliance. The minister emphasized the crucial role of solar energy in the energy transition in the global south and also highlighted Prime Minister Modi's initiatives that reflect India's vision and commitment to solar energy. He also stated that India has been at the forefront of solar energy development and deployment. Addressing the COP29 summit in Azerbaijan's Baku, India's Union Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Kirti Vardhan Singh, also highlighted the climate action, including push for clean energy taken by India.
These have not dampened India's resolve and commitment to take ambitious climate actions. We achieved our 2015 NDC targets on emission intensity reduction and non-fossil based installed electricity generation capacity much earlier than 2030 and have further enhanced our ambitions in these sectors. India's renewable energy capacity has nearly tripled from its 2014 levels, and we are on course to achieve the 500 gigawatt target by 2030.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a historic visit to Guyana from November 19 to 21st. This is the first pan-Indian Prime Minister in over 5 long decades. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj tells us why this visit is so significant. His report from Guyana.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to embark on a historic state visit to Guyana from 19th to 21st of November at the invitation of Guyana's President, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. This is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in over 5 decades. On the agenda are several key moments, beginning with the delegation level talk between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Irfan Ali, where both the leaders are expected to talk on a wide range of topics from defense to trade, to education, to energy, among others. President Irfan Ali visited India in 2023 and participated in the 17th Prasar Bharati Divas, where he was also awarded Prasar Bharati Samman, and he is keen to strengthen ties with India. One highlight of the visit is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to Guyanese Parliament, a gesture which underscores India's commitment to democracy and strengthening people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be meeting the vibrant Indian diaspora who contributes to the diverse social fabric of Guyana. The visit also features the second India CARICOM summit, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting the CARICOM member nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also pay floral tribute to the statue of Father of the Nation Mahatma Gandhi, and he will also be meeting some prominent personalities from the Caribbean. All in all, this will be a significant visit by the Indian Prime Minister, which is poised to reinforce the strong foundation of India-Guyana relations and will also expand India's presence in Caribbean. With camera person Senthil, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Georgetown, Guyana.
And let's go quickly live across to DD India. Siddharth Bharadwaj joining us live from all the way from Guyana to make us understand. Siddharth, over to you for understanding the significance of this visit of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which comes after several decades, and the kind of expectations build up, particularly the Indian diaspora there, which I think forms a major chunk of the population there.
Well, definitely. Hi, Sakal. Indeed, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Guyana is very, very significant for various reasons. Number one is that, like you've just also told the viewers, that this is the first visit of any Indian Prime Minister after almost 5 decades. To be very precise, after 1968, which will certainly strengthen the historical ties between two countries. And second is that Guyana is a home to, large Indian diaspora. As a matter of fact, around 40% of the total population in Guyana, which is around 8 lakh, comprise of Indians. So it will also strengthen the cultural ties between the two countries. On the agenda, Sakal, are many things. Beginning with the delegation level talk between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Mohamed Irfan Ali. Both the leaders are expected to discuss wide range of topics from defense to trade to healthcare to energy. Remember, President Irfan Ali visited India in 2023 during Bharatiya Pravasi Divas. He was also in fact awarded with the Bharatiya Pravasi Samman. He is very keen to strengthen ties with India, and he also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi last year as well, and both leaders had a wide range of discussion on topics including defense and trade and infrastructure. And this time around as well, both the leaders are expected to talk on similar topics, among others. Also, as a matter of fact, Sakal, Guyana is, experiencing a transformative growth when it comes to its economy, thanks to its booming oil sector. So India would like to partner with Guyana, in this transformative phase, but not just hydrocarbons. India will also like to partner with Guyana in sectors like healthcare, defense, infrastructure, among the other sectors, between both the countries. Apart from that, Sakal, the visit also features the second India CARICOM summit, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to meet the CARICOM leaders. He met the CARICOM leaders on the sidelines of the 7th United Nations General Assembly in New York. This time around as well, he'll be meeting the CARICOM leaders, and certainly the summit aims to deepen ties between India and CARICOM in areas like climate resilience and sustainable development, something which both the countries want. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be meeting some prominent personalities from the Caribbean, and he'll also be paying floral tribute to Father of the Nation Mahatma Gandhi. So all in all, this is a very significant visit by Indian Prime Minister, which will certainly strengthen the bilateral tie between both the countries, and will also expand its presence in the Caribbean.
Yes, the CARICOM summit will go a long way in terms of consolidating or further consolidating India's ties with the Caribbean nations. Siddharth, the fact that this visit is extremely significant from the from the point of view as far as Guyana's ruling dispensation is concerned, the fact that our Prime Minister is going to basically address their parliament as well. Tell us more about it. And did you get an opportunity to speak to some of the citizens out there? How do they look at this visit?
Sakal, I did not get the last part of your question. Can you just repeat it?
Prime Minister of India is going to address the parliament in Guyana. From Guyana's perspective, how significant is this visit? The kind of significance and symbolism they attach to India's Prime Minister's visit to their country?
Well, definitely, it's of a great significance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing the Guyanese Parliament, which will certainly the gesture underscores India's commitment to its democracy, certainly, and will also strengthen people-to-people ties. In fact, we had a word with some diaspora population here, and they are very, very excited. They just want to see Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and again and again they were saying that our roots goes back to India. We celebrate culture here, Indian culture here, Indian tradition here, and they just want to have a glimpse of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The stage is all set. You can see behind me that's Indian flag, and people are desperately waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to come to Guyana. Like I just mentioned, it's a historic state visit by the Indian Prime Minister, which is happening after around 5 decades. Sakal.
Yes, absolutely. Siddharth, thank you very much for those inputs and joining us live from Guyana. Thanks. And still to come on DT India News Hour. Coming up next, on the other side, we will talk about what's happening as far as Russia-Ukraine onslaught or conflict is concerned as it enters 1000th day, while European Union foreign ministers also discuss Ukraine in Warsaw talks. In New Zealand, thousands rally outside the parliament against a bill that seeks to alter indigenous rights.
Welcome to Jharkhand, the land of forests. Mesmerizing abundance of nature. Vast accumulation of natural resources. Rich legacy of contributing to India's economic foundations. Preserving a vast and diverse tribal culture.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching DT Indian News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and now let's get on to some updates from across the world. In a speech to Israel's parliament on Monday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the United States objected and made reservations on Israel's decision to invade Gaza with ground forces after the October 7 Hamas attack.
To accomplish these goals, we entered Gaza. I must tell you, members of the Knesset, that the United States objected, made reservations, also expressed objection. I did not threaten, it did not apply sanctions, not at that time. It expressed reservations and suggested we not enter Gaza. It said that it could be dealt with from the air. It sent experts and we decided to follow our view and we go in with ground forces.
U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein says that there was a real opportunity to end the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah after meeting Lebanon's Speaker of Parliament Nabi Berri in Beirut's En Al Tenhe Palace on Tuesday.
Today we've had just now very constructive talks with Speaker Berri, and we have continued to narrow the gaps through the discussions over the last few weeks, and specifically today we continued to significantly narrow the gaps. This is a moment of decision making. I'm here in Beirut to facilitate that decision, but it's ultimately the decision of the parties.
Meanwhile, several injured in central and northern Israel from Lebanon's rocket attack on Tuesday. Israel military has said that dozens of projectiles fired from Lebanon were partly intercepted by the Israeli military. In series of these attacks, U.S. Envoy Amos Hochstein landed in Beirut to push for a truce plan to halt the Israel-Hezbollah war. And in a major escalation on Russia-Ukraine conflict's 1,000th day, Ukraine launched 6 US-made long-range missiles at a military facility in the Bryansk border region of Russia on Tuesday. Russia military says that it has intercepted 5 of missiles and damaged 1. The attack resulted in no casualties till now. This comes a day after Ukraine's foreign minister hailed permission from Biden administration to use the missiles for the strikes inside Russia. On United States approval, Moscow has described it as an escalation that would make Washington a direct combatant in the war and prompt retaliation in future. Well, on the other hand, Russia seems to have launched drone attack on Ukraine's northeastern region of Sumy on Tuesday. Ukraine's officials say the drone attack has claimed 12 lives. Russian forces have pummeled the northeastern region for several times in recent months. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Ministry claims that its forces have taken control of the village in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region on Monday. Meanwhile, the foreign ministers of Poland, France, Germany and Italy met on Tuesday in Warsaw to discuss Ukraine, the incoming Trump administration and West Asia. Outgoing US President Joe Biden's administration has meanwhile approved Ukraine's use of US-made missiles to strike deep into Russia. This marks a significant reversal in Washington's policy on Ukraine-Russia conflict. The change in doctrine has been warmly welcomed by most EU heads of the state. Over in Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday urged Europe to push Moscow harder towards what he described as a just peace. He was addressing the European Parliament marking 1,000 days since the conflict with Russia began.
Putin has brought 11,000 North Korean troops to Ukraine's borders. This contingent may grow to 100,000. Putin is focused on winning this war. He will not stop on his own. The more time he has, the worse the conditions become.
While NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has stressed that Ukraine will need more aid and more money in order to prevail over Russia as he arrived for a foreign affairs and a defense meeting with members of the European Union in Brussels.
Today marks 1,000 days of the full Russian onslaught, the unprovoked full Russian onslaught on Ukraine. So today we'll discuss how we can help Ukraine to prevail. That means more aid, more money, and we have to make available to them, particularly now that the North Koreans have come on board. And we know that China is helping Russia with the war effort. We know that Iran is supporting Russia with the war effort.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has named former congressman and Fox Business host Sean Duffy as his pick for Transportation Secretary in the next administration. In a statement announcing Duffy, Trump described the Wisconsin Republican as a tremendous and well-liked public servant. And if confirmed, Duffy will oversee aviation, automotive, rail, transit and other transportation policies at the department with about $110 billion budget. Trump has vowed to reverse the Biden administration's vehicle emissions rules. He has said he plans to begin the process of undoing the Biden administration's stringent emissions regulations finalized earlier this year as soon as he takes office. And in some news coming in from Georgia, where police dispersed an opposition protest in Tbilisi early on Tuesday, arresting several people. The protesters had set up tents and barriers at a major junction near Tbilisi State University and security to protest the results of last month's parliamentary elections and demand a new vote. The October 26 election kept the governing Georgian Dream Party in power, but opponents say the vote was rigged. Many Georgians viewed the election as a referendum on the country's efforts to join the European Union. Over in New Zealand, thousands have rallied in front of the Parliament on Tuesday in one of the country's largest ever protests to oppose the bill that seeks to alter Indigenous rights. Massive crowds estimated by police at 42,000 gathered at Parliament, where the Treaty Principles Bill was introduced earlier this month by legislators. At the heart of the protest is the 184-year-old Treaty of Waitangi, a historic agreement between the British Crown and Maori chiefs that underpins New Zealand's governance. Protesters argue the bill dilutes Maori rights by reinterpreting key clauses in the treaty. Over in Hong Kong, in a landmark trial, Hong Kong court has sentenced 45 activists on Tuesday for up to 10 years with conspiracy to commit subversion under a national security law imposed by China. Total of 47 pro-democracy activists were arrested and charged way back in 2021. These activists were charged for plotting to paralyze the government by engaging in potentially disruptive acts had they been elected. The government said the Democrats have been treated in accordance with the local laws to restore order after mass pro-democracy protests in 2019. The trial has drawn criticism from many countries, including US, UK, Australia, whereas China's foreign ministry said that it firmly supports Hong Kong's efforts to safeguard national security.
We believe that this sentencing reflects the severity of the crime and also demonstrates that crimes endangering national security must be strictly punished. The harsh sentences send a clear message to society that we will not tolerate any actions that threaten national security, including attempts to subvert a state power. We will thoroughly review the sentencing details and consider whether to appeal the individual sentences.
And now let's quickly take a look at other stories making news around the world. We begin with Spain, where King of Spain Philip VI and Queen Letizia begin a highly anticipated trip to the epicenter of Spain's deadliest floods in decades. Crowds in the devastated town of Xiva in the eastern Valencia region applauded and shouted, and I quote, "Long live the king," unquote, 3 weeks after the October 29 disaster that had claimed at least 227 lives. Over in China, surveillance video captured the moment of a wild Siberian tiger who rammed itself into a large iron gate, narrowly missing a farmer in North China's Heilongjiang province. The video from Monday witnesses the man stepping out on the street to check on the tiger's whereabouts. Upon spotting the tiger, he hurries back to close the gate, which the enormous cat hurled itself against. Thousands of British farmers marched to Parliament Square on Tuesday to protest against the end of an inheritance tax exemption that has helped family farms pass down the generations. Farmers say the move will threaten food production and viability of family farms, which often have tight profit margins, and that their children will have to sell land to cover the tax bill. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Coming up next on the other side, we get you all the action from Goa, which seems to be set for the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India. And opening ceremony of Asia Pacific Bosse and Bowling event in New Delhi.
प्यारा बिल्कुल तुम्हारे जैसा।
पापा, ऑनलाइन फॉरेक्स ट्रेडिंग पर बेस्ट ऑफर्स, हाई रिटर्न्स, बोनस डिपॉजिट और इनाम जीतने का मौका।
हाँ बैल, मुझे मार मतलब
मुसीबत को बुलाना तुम्हारे पापा जैसे। आरबीआई कहता है आकर्षक ऑफर्स का लालच देने वाले अनधिकृत प्लेटफॉर्म्स पर फॉरेक्स ट्रेडिंग करना यानी अपने पैरों पर कुल्हाड़ी मारना।
इसका मतलब?
इन्हीं से पूछो।
समझा पापा।
आरबीआई कहता है
जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
19th G20 meeting taking place in Rio on the 18th and 19th of this month. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be participating here as well, along with the leaders of the world's 20 largest economies who will be deliberating on key issues such as eliminating hunger and poverty, sustainable development. For all the latest on the 2024 G20 summit in Rio, join me, Gautam Roy, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and now let's get you some news from India, where India's Home Minister Amit Shah on the second day of the Gujarat visit visited India's premier defence university, the National Defence University in Gandhinagar, where the 50th All India Police Science Conference has been organised. The Home Minister inaugurated an exhibition of different equipments used in the security sector. He visited many stalls at the exhibition. Addressing the conference, Home Minister said that after the operationalization of the new criminal laws, people will get justice within 3 years of registering an FIR. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, while virtually addressing the 7th India-Japan Indo-Pacific Forum and 10th India-Japan Track 1.5 dialogue, called for setting ambitious targets and work towards fulfilling them. He termed the India-Japan strategic and global partnership as a bilateral relationship of great trust and growing substance.
The India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership serves the cause of regional peace, international stability and global prosperity. It is a bilateral relationship of great trust and growing substance. But precisely because we have come so far in the last decade, it is important that we develop ambitious targets and work towards realizing them. Our convergences are built on the alignment between India's Act East policy, our Indo-Pacific vision of Sagar, and Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific vision, as well as our shared support for the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific.
South Asia's largest maritime thought leadership forum, Sagar Manthan, the Great Oceans Dialogue, is being held in the national capital. Leading the Norwegian delegation, Signe Brudest says that her country's maritime priorities include a global rules-based order that encompasses freedom of navigation, maritime security and further cooperation with India in other sectors.
We have with us Signe Brudest. She's the Director General of the Department of Regional Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Norway. Thank you for speaking to DD India. You're at the Great Oceans Dialogue. Tell us about Norway's participation and how do you see the collaboration between the two countries moving forward, be it maritime security or the blue economy?
Yes, I'm very happy to be here at this conference. Norway and India are important and great partners when it comes to maritime affairs and the blue economy. We are, of course, here now with a delegation both from the business side, from the research side, and also with our Shipping Owners Association. So this is a testament and proof to the very concrete collaboration that we have between Norway and India. And we are looking forward to deepening this collaboration, hoping also that we will have oceans as part of the next India-Nordics summit coming up next year.
What more is expected from the two countries moving ahead in terms of investments from Norwegian companies and vice versa?
We see now that Norwegian ship owners they are looking towards India also when it comes to building ships. We hope that we can maybe have some cooperation in port development. And of course also we have recently signed a EFTA-India free trade agreement, which hopefully also will help us to boost the trade between the two countries.
Right.
Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry organized a national conference on electric vehicles in the capital in New Delhi on Tuesday. The discussion revolved around expansion and development of electric vehicles in the country. The conference was inaugurated by India's Minister of Heavy Industries and Steel, H.D. Kumaraswamy. Prime Minister's advisor Tarun Kapoor was also present in the program. Focusing on the role of the Heavy Industries Ministry, the ministry outlined efforts to strengthen India's manufacturing and export capabilities in electronic vehicle sector, which aims to achieve net zero target by 2070.
The Ministry of Heavy Industries is leading the nationwide push for electric vehicle adoption, contributing to India's ambitious net zero target for 2070. Through initiatives like Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme and PM E-Drive schemes, electric two-wheelers sales have surged to 5,71,411 units in 2024 and 25.
To EVs and becoming a manufacturing hub and also exporting to the world, that's what we need to achieve. And we also are very clear that in India, the EV penetration has to go up. So 30%, which we are talking of, at least 30% sales by 2030, that's something which we have to do.
The 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India is set to begin on Wednesday in Goa, with 180 international films from 81 countries to be screened till November 28th. Preparations are full swing as the festival will witness the presence of renowned personalities from the film industry. DD India's Deepika Mathur reports on what to look forward during the Goa Film Festival.
Lights, camera, iffy. The stage is all set for the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India in the heart of Goa, and preparations are in full swing for the mega event. This year's program features films across 16 curated segments, ensuring there's something for everyone. From heartwarming dramas to intense documentaries, every corner of cinema is represented. Films making their national and international premieres at IFFI add to the excitement, allowing audiences a sneak peek at the groundbreaking stories. Apart from that, country of focus is Australia. Speaking on its importance, Ms. Vrunda Desai, Joint Secretary Films, said that this not only strengthens bilateral relationship between the two countries, but also open doors to global film market.
This year Australia is the country of focus, and we have the opening film from Australia, as well as there is a roundtable conference between the producers, the Indian filmmakers and Australian filmmakers.
For the first time ever, an OTT platform of Prasar Bharati will also be released on the opening ceremony at IFFI. The Prasar Bharati OTT booth will provide festival goers with an opportunity to explore the expanding world of OTT. From culture to cuisine, IFFI is going to be a delight for sign lovers. And it also provides an opportunity to own the skills of young volunteers.
I'm very excited, like we are getting to learn something new which will be helpful for our career as we are students of hospitality.
The festival, which is spread across 9 days, kickstarts on the 20th of November and will go on till the 28th of it in Goa.
From showcasing young minds to having a particular space for women filmmakers, from the first online portal to having the first OTT platform, and also from honoring the legends of Indian cinema to having the first ever IFFI 2024 is celebrating cinema at its best. So don't forget to tune in and follow IFFI with DD India from the 20th till the 28th of November. With camera person Alok, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Goa.
And the 3-day Air Expo 2024 commenced in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday, positioning the UAE at the forefront for sustainable aerospace innovation. Over 40 leading flight training schools and numerous industry experts will be participating in the event to offer insights on green aviation technologies. A major highlight of the event was the advanced air mobility segment with urban air transport and eco-friendly drone technologies, highlighting UAE's vision of sustainable aviation future. And let's take a quick look at other stories making news. India's ruling party BJP has initiated a campaign called No Bharatiya Janata Party. Following this, a 16-member delegation of senior leaders of ruling party of Singapore People's Action Party is on their visit to India. BJP's National President JP Nadda interacted with the delegation from Singapore on Tuesday. The primary objective of this visit is to enhance party-to-party relations and share a deeper understanding of the BJP structure, functioning and future vision. The provisional payroll date of Employees State Insurance Corporation reveals that 20.58 lakh new employees have been added in the month of September. Ministry of Labour and Employment reports 0.05 lakh young employees among new registrations. Year-on-year analysis shows a growth of 9% in net registrations. Speaker of Lower House of the Indian Parliament Om Birla inspected the Parliament House premises on Tuesday in view of the upcoming winter session. Necessary arrangements and facilities were reviewed for the session beginning this November 25th. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia and the other dignitaries attended the opening ceremony of the bocce and bowling competition in New Delhi. Vice President Dhankar inaugurated the event and praised the dedication of the special athletes. India made its debut at the first ever Special Olympics Asia Pacific bocce and bowling competition, which began on Tuesday. The tournament is a first of its kind event which empowers athletes with intellectual and development disabilities. The 4-day competition from 19th to 22nd November will see special athletes from 12 countries vying for top honours in both the sports. India boasts of 43 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 35 cultural, 7 natural and 1 is of the mixed type. You will be delighted to know that India is among the top 10 countries with over 40 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. In the last 10 years, UNESCO has included several Indian historical sites in its World Heritage list. Let's explore during World Heritage Week how India's heritage sites are gaining global recognition and what we can learn from them. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.